Tonight we're getting a look at newly released internal federal records about the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. Turns out many of the experts who publicly insisted the coronavirus came from bats might have known better. That's a debate that has had political ramifications, obviously, on Capitol Hill. Here's Chief Congressional Correspondent Chad Pergram.
The nation's top scientists touted a March 2020 article downplaying theories that COVID-19 came from a lab in China. But documents obtained by Senator Rand Paul say the report's authors weren't certain.
They were saying things like, oh, those are conspiracy theory people, or though the idea that it came from lab is implausible. And yet privately, they're saying the opposite.
Co-author Christian Anderson told colleagues via Slack there was only a 30% chance that COVID sprang from a lab. Anderson later conceded, quote, "We really don't have any hard evidence one way or another."
Do you solemnly swear or affirm?
Anderson testified in 2023 that he didn't tout the nature theory to protect what Dr. Anthony Fauci said about how COVID started.
The claim that Dr. Fauci prompted the drafting of proximal origin to disprove the lab leak is not true.
Lawmakers who probe pandemic origins are still baffled.
I think the scientific community's been split on this.
I don't know that we will ever know definitively.
Other messages obtained by Paul say the FBI blocked Customs and Border Patrol from interviewing Peter Daszak when he flew back to the U.S. from China in 2021. There were questions about the type of research that Daszak conducted in Wuhan. One key lawmaker believes the Biden administration tried to promote the theory that COVID came from a bat to suppress the lab leak idea.
It's no surprise that they would use, the law enforcement enterprise to achieve that and support the narrative.
Now, the intelligence community is torn about COVID origins, and the FBI has moderate confidence about the lab theory. The CIA, low confidence. Fauci goes before Paul's committee under subpoena next.
You really can't make this up. Anthony Fauci spent the entire pandemic writing about his own fame while people died alone in hospitals. Over 1,000 pages of Anthony Fauci's diary was just released to the public, and what he wrote in private is not what he told the country. For years, he said he never recommended that people lock down.
I wonder if you would recommend locking down schools if you had to do it all over again.
Well, again, it's first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. You're
Which is weird because in March of 2020, he bragged about convincing the mayor of New York to close the schools, shut down bars and restaurants, and advised on sheltering the city. He then did the same for Gavin Newsom in California. So he pushed to close schools and then denied ever doing it. And now you have an entire generation of kids who still haven't recovered. Kids were unable to socialize with each other, and the only time they were let outside was if they put a mask on their face. But don't worry, he doesn't document that within the pages of his diary. What he writes about are the things that truly matters to him, his own fame and popularity. In May of 2020, he wrote a big front page article about me in the Washington Post. It's not hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable people in the world. And then he brags about going over to Jake Tapper's house for dinner while the shutdown was happening and building a friendship with him. So people weren't allowed to visit family for Thanksgiving, kids were kicked out of school and unable to have a social life, and you couldn't even visit your loved ones in the hospital on their deathbed. He was going over and having dinners with famous people and then writing in his diary about how famous he himself was becoming. Now I understand why his odds of being arrested on Polymarket have doubled. Does that just about cover it, or did I miss anything?
It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the f do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to begin by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the fully elect. All right, so you see from the first couple of videos about the situation surrounding, let's call it the C-19, right? And getting those jabs and things of that nature, So basically, it's coming out that, there was a lot of fabrication, a lot of lies, so on and so forth, but things that we already knew were going on, right? Because really at the end of the day, we know, things like the jabs and things like the C-19, right? All these diseases and sicknesses, right? These things come because Esau, Edom, they're deceivers, right? These are just test trials. That's all they are. They're test trials for the upcoming MOTB, which is the RFID chip, right? These are just test trials, like I said, trying to see, how easy it would be to convince people to get these things, right? You see, it's affecting people's health and things of that nature, but, we'll continue to speak on that as we go, but this is actually from the White House website, right? Just going into, more of the quote unquote truth of the C-19, right? As you see, it says lab leak. You see this guy, but you see it says lab leak, the true origins of C-19. It says the origin, it says the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 publication, which was used repeatedly by public health officials in the media to discredit the lab leak theory, was prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the preferred narrative that C-19 originated naturally. So what this is saying is this isn't a natural occurring sickness, if you will, right? So this isn't like a common cold. This wasn't, anything of that nature. No, this was something that was created by Esau Edom in the lab. Now, they say, as we'll continue on to read, let's see, this third point, it says, Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research, its gene-altering and organism supercharging at inadequate biosafety levels, right? But so they're saying it originated in China, right? But at the end of the day, as we know, let's go get a scripture. We'll start at Revelation 18, right? It's Revelation 18:3. It says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Right? So, though it may, of course, they hide things all the time. So we don't know what's 100% true and what's 100% not when it comes to, these people and their, their information that they give, right? But the point being, whether it originated there or not, we do know at the end of the day, it all boils down to the wickedness of Esau Edom, right? At the end of the day, because these elites, right, your top percent of the elite, your Rockefellers, Rothschilds, people like that, things of that nature, they control it all, right? They're the ones who fund, the wars and, so on and so forth, right? So they know about this research, right? This Dr. Fauci, he's not a so-called Chinese man, but he was in the works with these people, they're all, and I wish this would get off the screen. Come on. Okay. But yeah, they're all in cahoots with each other, man. They're all in cahoots with each other. Let's see. So we already read that first part. So what is gain-of-function research? It says a lab-related incident involving gain-of-function research is the most likely origin of the C-19. Current government mechanisms for overseeing this dangerous gain-of-function research are incomplete, severely convoluted, and lack global applicability. So at the end of the day, they're trying to blame it, on, those labs and things of that nature. But again, we know they all in cahoots, man. At the end of the day, they were just trying to, control the people the same way they're going to try to do with the MOTB, right? But, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Salakia, right? This is 2 Corinthians 2:11, right? It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. You can't be ignorant of these things. You can't be ignorant of their tactics, their deceivableness, right? This is what they do. They sprinkle a little bit of information out there. They point the finger. It was him. But at the end of the day, they're all in bed with each other, right? They're all in bed with each other. You saw, they're having a court hearing or whatever, But again, at the end of the day, they are all in cahoots with each other, Now, certain people in the government, such as that senator, does he know the 100% truth? Maybe not. Because at the end of the day, like the scriptures say, a nation divided against itself shall not stand. When you got these Democrats and Republicans, going against each other, they're just bringing the downfall of their nation, which we so gladly are waiting for, or so earnestly are waiting for, right? But this is Matthew 24:24. It says that there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, and so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But again, you can't be deceived by, these types of things. That's why when the C-19 was going on, the elders and apostles, they told people, do not get the jab. Don't comply. Don't go get that. Because you had the jab, you had like the boosters, the booster shots and things of that nature. Just putting things in your body that you don't even know what you got. I've seen countless people, have videos of, famous people at that saying, they wish they didn't get it. Things of that nature. Right? But let's continue on. Read a little bit more of this. It says Dr. David Morris. It says Dr. Fauci's senior advisor, Dr. David Morris, deliberately obstructed the select subcommittee's investigation, likely lied to Congress on multiple occasions, unlawfully deleted federal C-19 records, and shared non-public information about NIH grant processes with EcoHealth President Dr. Peter Daszak. So again, it's just a bunch of confusion, a bunch of false information, a bunch of, deception going on. But at the end of the day, the point of the video, he should just say that it's all boiling down to control of the people. The brother Naaman brings out, he brings it out often, the order of chaos, right? Order out of chaos, right? That's all this is, you know? They're trying to control the people. Let's see. So the social distancing that you had to do, all right, it says the 6 feet apart social distancing recommendation, which shut down schools and small businesses across the country, was arbitrary and not based on science. During closed-door testimony, Dr. Fauci testified that the guidance sort of just appeared, right? Now, I mean, again, at this point, you know, this is just informational, you know, just letting people know what's going on, right? The mask mandates, it says there is no conclusive evidence that masks effectively protected Americans from COVID-19. And I said it out loud, so Lord willing, I don't, you know, strike the video. But it says public health officials flip-flopped on the efficiency. Efficiency? I'm not familiar with that word. Salakia. Really for my own edification. Efficiency. I think I said that right. So it just means effectiveness. I thought so. It says a mask without providing American scientific data, causing a massive uptick in public distress. Right? The lockdowns. It says prolonged lockdowns caused immeasurable harm not only to the American economy, blah, 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 blah. Right? But again, at the end of the day, this was all a hoax. Right? That's all this was. Just one big hoax. Because during that time, you didn't get that jab, what would happen to you? You may even lose your job, right? You may be losing money because of the job, things of that nature, you know. You were looked at as almost a criminal. I remember I remember when that was going around, and I was this female I was dealing with at the time. You know, I was telling her, like, I'm not getting that. And she looked at me with the like sad puppy eyes, like I was about to die. You know, and it's funny, man. That's how this beast system does you. You know, you listen to anything they say, man. They'll have you jumping through hoops. You know, following their new world order, right? But this is Revelation 13, and we'll start at 11, right? The beast from the earth, right? It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Like I said, those 2 horns, you know, those Democrats and Republicans, they speak as a dragon. They speak just like the Roman revised empire. You know, they're the same. Verse 12, and he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. Again, that Roman empire. It says, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Right, going to, you know, Revelation 20. Verse 13, he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on earth by means of those miracles which he had to do in the sight of the beast. Right? When you're able to come up with a vaccine within months, you know, yeah, I really shouldn't be saying these words. They're really slipping. But again, Lord willing, you know, they don't strike the video, right? But when you go get these things, these are wonders, you know. When you see the diseases, these are wonders, but they created it. This was something created, you know. It's like I'm not sure if brothers have seen that movie. It was a Spider-Man movie, but it was a villain. There was a villain in that movie called Mysterio, right? And what this Mysterio guy did was he wanted to be like a superhero. So what he did was he would create these facades, he would use drones to, it's kind of like Project Bluebeam, you know, he would use drones and things of that nature to make it look like there was this big disaster going on. And what he would do is he would just swoop in as and act like he was saving everybody. But that's exactly what Esau Edom does. They create these disasters and things of this nature, and then they try to swoop in and say, oh, look, we created, this medicine to help you. No, you're the cause for it. All these doctors want you to take all these medicines, but they're the cause for all the sicknesses. The things they put in our food, all the things that they defile, things of that nature. But again, that's Esau Edom for you, man. Starting at the top of 14 again, it says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And here's really the point that I wanted. Verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And that's what they do. If you don't agree with American science, they will try to persecute you. They would try to get you out of there, man. You lose your job for not getting the jab. How much more would you lose for not getting the MOTB when it becomes mandatory? Right? But, again, 2 Corinthians 2:11, let Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. You can't be ignorant of the things going on. You got to be able to see in between the lines, or read in between the lines. Shit, see and read. But, Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm going to leave it right there. So I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom.